Good afternoon. We're going to start another project today. The bathroom in the house. The long story short was this was a garage with a attached bathroom that was never really intended for long-term, house. We've gone ahead and converted it all over, but one thing the bathroom lacks is any ventilation. So there's a window in there, but we don't like to leave it open in the winter for obvious reasons. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our ventilation in the bathroom to help keep the moisture out of the building and get it outside. So what we've gone with is we've gone with the Panasonic FV0811VF5. A lot of numbers and stuff there, but the one thing I liked about the Panasonic, they make this one and they make a size bigger. They're very quiet, so you don't really mind listening to them. A lot of the cheaper bathroom fans don't move a lot of volume, and they tend to be very noisy. So people don't like to use them if they're noisy, yada, yada, yada. So that's why we went with that. We've got a through-the-wall kit from Broan. Just picked this up on Amazon. This will give us what we need to go to this. And then probably the most important part is we have a Leviton humidity sensor. I don't know if you can read that. So what this does is this senses the humidity and turns the fan out automatically until the humidity drops to an acceptable level. There's also a manual button, so if you're going to go take a shower, you could push it manually, or if you forget to push it, it will come on, based on that. We have an old work box here. For those of you that haven't used these before, we have to get a wire down on the wall to put this into. And what you do with these is you cut a hole in the wall that the box slides into, and then these wings right here, let's see if we can show you that a little better. These wings right here, when you turn this little screw, these wings pop up and pull out against the wall and pinch the box. So this is really nice, for old work. We will be, in the spring, we'll be remodeling the bathroom, adding a new shower, putting some sheetrock and stuff in. So we'll have to pull this back out and put it in, but we want to get this fan in now. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get set up. We're going to bring you along for that. Hopefully you'll be able to follow along what we're doing. We've got to get up in the attic, move a bunch of blown insulation out of the way. We've got to cut a hole in the ceiling, mount the fan. We've got to cut a hole out through the wall of the house and mount the exhaust port and get it all wired up. So hold on, let's get going and see if we can get this project done. All right, so we've gone ahead and unboxed everything. We've got our fan out here. You'll notice this uses more of a squirrel cage and it's all sealed in. Like I say, the cheaper ones tend to make a lot of noise but not move a lot of air. This does have a selectable speed, high or low. We're going to try the high, and if it's too noisy, we'll turn it back down. It also comes with an adapter for a smaller pipe. We're not going to use that. We're using 4-inch. And it comes with this fancy-dancy mounting system, which I'm not sure, we haven't really read up on yet. We may or may not use it. I don't think we're going to, because in our case the ceiling has got a layer of plywood on it. So we're able to cut a hole and slide it up in and screw it. And then the drywall, we'll go over that when we do the drywall. So either way, one thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to hook a length of wire to this, so that as we get up in the attic, we're minimizing our time in the attic. We'll drill a hole up through the ceiling where the humidity sensor on-off switch is going. We will have wire ready so that when we get up in the attic, we can just do our work, spend a minimal amount of time up there. So we're going to open this up. It's important to note that when you get ready to, go with this fan, and I've noticed this on several of these different types of fans that I've installed, they put a piece of tape on this flapper inside here. You want to make sure you take that off, otherwise the fan won't work very well. Now we're going to knock that knockout out right there. I have to go get a regular screwdriver. Like that. And we're going to use our Romex connector. And I have pretty good luck on these T-strippers made by Ideal. You can grab a couple of the teeth like that and turn and really lock that right down. Now we're going to use, in our case, we have a piece of 14.3 left over. You only need 14.2 or 12.2. The 14 is the gauge of the wire. 14 is a smaller gauge than 12, and it will carry less current. So that really is dictated by the circuit you're going to tie into. We're using a 15 amp circuit. This fan draws hardly any power. Like I say, we had a piece of 14.3 laying around, so we're going to use that rather than cutting into a whole roll of 14.2. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the black wire off, because in our case, once we get down to the switch, we'll have this and we'll have 14.2. We will use a piece of 14.2 for the feed. So then we'll know the red wire is the fan, the black wire is the power coming in. And I know I've mentioned this a few times, but on these Romex connectors, you really don't want to crank them right down tight. You basically want to stop the wire from moving, like that. If you crank them down too tight, what you'll end up doing is cutting into the wire. It's also important to use the right size wire nut for the job you're doing. Typically, one brand is colored, like red, yellow, and blue. Yellow is real small, red is your normal size, blue is your larger size. I tend to use these Ideal and they're tan, but you just want to make sure you're using the right size wire nut. Especially considering this is up in the attic. We don't want to have to go up and down too many times. You'll see when we get up there, it's a lot of blown insulation. So we just want to make sure we get our connections good the first time. What I like to do is put my stranded wire on there and give it just a slight twist and be just a little bit proud of the copper wire, and then it usually tightens it up well. I like to give a pull on the stranded wire as well. Then we get a cover back on without pinching any wires. Something like that. Put a screw back in. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to measure this. We're going to go 10 3/4 square. Now we're going to cut this from upstairs in the attic. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive a screw up through in the bathroom ceiling so we know where we want to be when we get up there, just in case we can't find it. We got a pretty good idea, but we'll drive a screw up through the center. We're going to go up in the attic. We're going to basically drill a few holes, take the Sawzall, connect the dots, and then we'll put this up in from downstairs. We'll connect all of our vent line, and then we'll put our insulation back over it. So we're going to take you in, get you set up in the bathroom so you can watch what we're doing. Bathroom and the attic, we'll be jumping back and forth a couple times. So we'll get you in there. Alright, so we're up in the attic. Probably a little hard to see. I'm shining a flashlight at you. I'm going to pan you down so you can watch what we're doing, but what we're going to do is we're going to find the screw. I'm going to clean the insulation out of the way. We're going to mark it out and cut the hole. So let me get your pan down so you can see roughly where we're working. So remembering that we've gone ahead and turned the lights off on you there for a minute. We know that we put a screw up through the ceiling. So we're going to carefully put our hand down there and look for it. Move slowly so that when you hit the screw you don't rip a big hunk out of your hand. And there it is right there. So we've got it right there. So we're going to clean the insulation out of the way. Alright, so we're just going to clean a little bit more of this out. I know we only have to go 10 inches, so we're going to go a little extra just so, like that, so that it doesn't fall off when we get cutting or banging around.
But if you wanted to cut
Remembering we wanted about 10 3/4. .5/8 spade bit, and we're going to drill some holes that will basically end up connecting the dots with the Sawzall. Okay, so now we're going to connect these dots. We have a hole. Alright, so we've got our hole cut. We've stuck our wire up in there. We're going to stick our fan up in our ceiling. And we weren't too worried about it because, like I said, this is going to get covered with drywall. So we'll go ahead and put a couple screws in this and we'll get back up in the attic. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll be back when we get this mounted. Alright, so we're going over the vinyl siding. So what we're doing is we're going ahead and making just a little bit of relief in this for the vinyl siding. And that way we can, it'll fit a little tighter and we can caulk around it later. So we're going to take our caulking, we have all of our pieces and parts, and we're going to go up and see if we can make this work.
Spritey, what you doing?
Alright, so we've got our vent out through the wall. Now we're going to go back inside, going to get you up in the attic, and we're going to hook up the rest of the vent line, cover up the insulation, and test this thing out. Alright, so we're headed back in the attic one last time. We got to go connect our vent line and cover over the fan. Now, in this attic, this is a fairly small space. This is 10 feet from side to side and 30 feet long. This is over the kitchen and bathroom, and then of course the wall goes up to the 14-foot ceilings over the living room, bedroom, and auto shop. We're going to be, in the next probably week or so, blowing in another foot of insulation. There's only about 8 inches, maybe 6 inches in places and we definitely want to get some more insulation up here. So let's get on over there and get that vent hooked up. See if we can give you an idea of the trials and tribulations of crawling through an attic space. Okay, so we're gonna try to get you set up somewhere where you can watch what we're doing. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that pipe, put it on over that, and put a wire tie on it. Let's see if we can get some light on the situation. Alright, so we got that all hooked up, and what we'll end up doing, we don't have enough up here now, but we'll end up covering that with insulation. If you were going through an attic space where you weren't going to cover it, you'd want to use an insulated pipe for that instead of a regular pipe like that. And if you're going a long ways, you'd want to use regular metal pipe, not that corrugated stuff. The corrugations actually put a lot of restriction into it, but as you can see, we're only going about 3 feet. So we're going to cover the fan over with some more of that blown insulation. Going to go down and wrap up the electrical and see how this works. So hold on while we do that. We'll be right back. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and connect up our switch, put power to this thing, and wrap up this project. Alright, we're going to go hook the electrical up, come back and show you how to program the switch. Ready? Alright, so we're going to put the grill on, and this has these metal things. They go up in some grooves up in here. So like that, and like that, and then it just snaps up against the ceiling. You sort of tap it where you want to get square. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get you set up, or actually Sue can hold the camera. We're going to show you how to program this switch. And this comes apart. I'm trying to remember exactly how, about like that. Something like that maybe. And there's some switches in here that we have to set. And we have basically, in a nutshell, this thing will do several things. One is it will turn on with a humidity rise. So not a set humidity, but a rise. So like if it sees a 10% increase in humidity level, it will turn on. We can have it do that. We can also have it come on at just a set humidity. So like 50% humidity, we turn it on across the board. Or we set it for a scheduled, run so many hours every day. In our case, we're going to set it to turn on when it sees about a 10 or 15% humidity rise, in case we forget to turn it on when we get in the shower. So if you open up your instruction book here, and once you find the English one, which I did not, but that's okay. This is the one we're going to be looking for. The bottom dial here is how long it runs when it turns on. 1 is 10 minutes, 2 is 20 minutes, 3 is 30 minutes. We're going to set ours for 30 minutes. The sensibility one up here, sensitivity, we want to be on medium. So we're going to point our arrow up in that corner. And the humidistat we want to leave to off, which is where it should be by default. So we're going to go ahead and get a little screwdriver and be right back. Alright, so we're going to set for about 30 minutes. And we're going to set this for somewhere straight up, in between low and medium. We kind of want to turn on pretty quickly. And this should be off. We'll check it to make sure it is. So now we're going to put this back together and turn the power on. And we don't have a cover for this yet. We have to go to the hardware store and get one. We'll go ahead and get that snapped up in there. Maybe. And snap that closed. Now, one thing I'll point out is that on these, when you push them, it turns the fan on manually. And if I remember correctly, you can push it a couple times and it will multiply the time. So like we set it to run for about 45 minutes. If I pushed it twice, it'd run for about an hour and a half. So we're going to turn the power on and we'll come back and listen to the fan. You'll see it's got a green light on in here telling us it's ready to go. And we'll turn it on. And that's the reason I like this particular model, like I pointed out earlier in the video. I don't know if you can even hear that on the camera, on the GoPro, but it's not very loud. I mean, we could have a conversation over that easy, and that's on high. The little cheap $20 ones are about 4 times as loud and they don't move any air. You watch, I'll show you that this one actually moves air. So that moves quite a lot of air. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.